Welcome back to Pod Popper's Place and the second part of Stick It Down August sketch. This time I'm using a more creative expression of this month's sketch, and I'm using Christmas as a theme. I use this Tailored Expression Build a Scene Christmas paper, but because the scene actually is great for an A2 size card, but I wanted to use the two different pattern papers as described in the sketch, and so I have to mess with it to kind of get the right size of how I want to put the paper on there. And once I get that kind of figured out, I decide to give it some kind of dimension on the bottom by adding it as a hill, and so I use this MFT stamps die to just give a little bit of a hill to the background. And then I go ahead and ink up my my stamp that I believe is from Stampin' Up, but I'm not 100% sure. It's just a Christmas verse, and I first stamp it on white, and it looks really pretty, but it's very hard to see. So then I go with a darker paper. It's a dark gray, and I really like how it looks on there. It stands out a lot better than the white, but then I tried to heat emboss on that, and it just made it into a mess. I didn't like it at all. It just blurred up the words. So I decided to try it on some black cardstock, and it looked really nice, really vibrant. You could see the words really well, and I really liked that a lot. And then I cut out some silver cardstock that I used in the first card as well, and I did my background frame in black, and I cut out the center as I had explained in my first video as well. And so I'm figuring out how this layout is going to work. I realized that I didn't like how much of the Christmas star that was being covered up, and so I wanted to trim down the bottom paper a little bit more. And what happens is I end up cutting off too much, and then my frame is not balanced around the edges. So in order to correct that, I cut another strip of the same pattern paper, and also cut that with the hill die, and just pop that in the front of the first hill. Next, I get out this Honeybee Stamps die. I believe it is discontinued, but there are, I believe, other companies that have something similar, and it just cuts a whole bunch of frames. And what I like to do when I cut out the frames with this piece is I like to add double-sided adhesive sheets to the back of the paper. And I do this, it's easiest by lining it up in a stamping platform so that you don't have stickiness falling over the edge. And then I just cut it exactly to the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I believe, dimensions, and it cuts out all these frames, which makes it super easy to just have them on hand. And then I use the second smallest, or the second to largest frame, and it's like perfect for going around the edge of my scene, and I put that on there, and because I use the double-sided adhesive, it makes it really easy to line that up and get it on there. And I did have to adjust it slightly, but it came off easy enough once I did it right away. And then so I'm just putting my elements together here. I decided to pop up the sentiment again as I had on the first one, and you do have to be careful when you're using glue and the foil paper, because it takes a little bit longer to dry. And then I stuck it down, and I wasn't happy with the positioning, and I'm glad I moved it right away, because the tape, or the glue does work really well, and so sometimes it can be hard to get up, and I was afraid I was going to ruin my card, but I was able to get it up and reposition that to a better spot. And then I punch out some snowflakes with this old punch. And then I use also a Spellbinders snowflake die to cut out some extra snowflakes. And then I get out my Studio Katia Icy Sparkle crystals, and these are just beautiful to add what looks like kind of icy sparkles, hence the name. And I also get out this calls for confetti silver confetti, but I end up not using that because I just thought the sparkle crystals gave it something different than all the foil that was already on there. So that's it for my creative take on this month's sketch for Stick It Down, and I hope you enjoyed, and I would love to if you subscribed and commented and liked my video, and also be sure and go to Stick It Down on Instagram, Facebook, and at their blog spot to join the challenge.